Well, happy Friday, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us on Up North Live News Unscripted. I hope you all had a wonderful week, and it is 6:30, so I'm assuming most of you are onto your weekend now, and boy, I'm a little jealous. I'm almost there. Gotta be patient. Home stretch. A few more hours. But speaking of the weekend, today was a gorgeous day, and it sounds like this weekend is going to be pretty nice, too. So let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Joe Charlevoix to give us a little more on what we can expect weather-wise this weekend. Hey, Joe.
Yeah, well, nice weather coming up, Maya. I know you have. Did I hear you're going to the beach tomorrow?
I'm going to the beach. It'll be my first beach day of the year, and I cannot wait.
By the way, I was looking at the water temperatures. In fact, Harrison, our sports director, asked me, he's like, how warm is it? Yeah. 40s and 50s right now.
So I will not be swimming at the beach.
So, yeah, it's obviously still chilly, no doubt about it. But temperature-wise, we're getting into the weekend. It looks really nice. Pretty dry. There may be, and I'll show you this coming up a little later in Maine weather, a couple maybe showers or storms, but that'll be like Saturday night during the night. So I think both Saturday and Sunday daytime looking pretty good and also pretty warm.
Nice. Well, Joe, we'll check in with you again after our first break for a full weather forecast. But for now, I'm going to put up our question of the day, which is, are you frustrated with the apparent choice of candidates for president? And you can scan the QR code right now to vote if you haven't yet. Right now, 75% say yes, 25% say no. And it looks like, I'm just going to scroll over to our Facebook page, 278 people have voted so far. So if you have not voted on that, be sure to do that by scanning the QR code on your screen right now. You can also leave a comment, and we will read some of those comments on our Facebook post. We have about 40 comments, so I'll just read a few of those just so you get an idea of where people are at. And again, we want to hear from you on what you think about this. So Rick says, this is the first comment that comes up. Rick says 335.8 million people in the US, and this is the best we can do, laughable. That got 8 likes. People seem to like that a little bit. Dee Dee says, I'm voting third party. That way no one can blame me when either candidate wins. Someone says, Ed says, I will take a mouthy businessman anytime over a lifetime politician. Ooh, Tom has a good point. And I know this has been a big topic, especially the past couple years with President Joe Biden being in office and with his age. He says there was a maximum age limit of 65 years old for the president of the United States and vice president of the United States. That would go along with the minimum 35 age limit. It would have prevented both Biden and Trump from becoming president. If the U.S. Constitution was updated to state that no candidate for public office could declare their candidacy with pending legal problems / under felony indictment, it would eliminate one of the two this time around. So some good points, Tom. Steve says, if you think you have a choice, you're part of the problem. 350 million people in the country. And coincidentally, we have the same 2 people to choose from. 2 most hated people in the country. If that doesn't convince you that it's rigged, nothing will. Oh, Jim says one of them has already proven he does the job well, so why worry about the other? But he didn't say who. Interesting, Jim. And just a few more comments kind of around that same topic, right, with what Jim was saying. So if you have an opinion on this, we want to hear from you. So please scan the QR code on your screen now to vote. And also you can leave a comment, and we'll check with our comments as the show goes on. But kind of switching gears, still staying in terms of the president and President Joe Biden, First Lady Jill Biden, and First Gentleman Douglas Emhoff were in Sault Ste. Marie today. They've been in Michigan for the past couple days campaigning. They were in Sault Ste. Marie. They sat down with tribal leaders to talk about healthcare, and they also checked out the new Sioux Lock. And our Daniel, I call him Danny, not on air, but when we talk to him on air, we always say Daniel. Daniel Zivian was there. He was there for the entire time. So here is his story. And when we come back after showing Daniel's story, we are going to check in with Daniel, who is still in Sault Ste. Marie, just to hear about how his day went covering this.
Biden and Emhoff heard from both local tribes who highlighted healthcare advances, Bay Mills' new clinic, and the Sioux tribe's plan to improve overall coverage. Biden touted the role of her husband's administration in making those happen.
He's made sure that the Indian Health Service and the tribal medical services it funds can continue to provide life-saving care without interruptions to their budget. And he is committed to making that true every year going forward.
One speaker said this area is still underfunded, leaving tribes to pick up the slack.
We're funding the other 62% either through third-party revenue claims and reimbursement mechanisms or through our own casino endeavors and our own economic endeavors. That doesn't actually meet with the treaty and trust responsibilities because we are still taking on the burden even though we've traded our land and our blood for the paths of the treaty rights.
Biden also touted progress at the Sioux Locks as part of the president's infrastructure achievements. She also learned the potential fallout of losing the locks.
An unexpected 6-month closure of this lock would result in the loss of 11 million American jobs and 3 to 5 million Canadian and Mexican jobs. It would result in a resource-based recession with no possible policy mitigations and a $1.3 trillion loss to our GDP.
My mic was muted. I'm still getting used to this. Let's bring in our reporter, Daniel Zivin. He is live in Sault Ste. Marie after what sounds like a very busy day. Hey, Daniel, how are you doing?
Hey, good evening, Maya. I'm so tired, yet rather excited. There's really no other experience like it for a young journalist. I've certainly not had to go through the rigors of this before. So, a long day. And it's going to be over soon, but goodness, I like being here in Sault Ste. Marie. I'm always happy to be here, and I'm glad to be here today.
So can you just kind of give us a little recap of what your day was like? I'm curious from your perspective. We saw your story, I think, get touched on a lot of things that were discussed today, but what was it like for you just following along with all of this?
Absolutely. Well, to be honest, my day started a couple days ago when I had to RSVP to be at this event. Even if, this wasn't the president, this wasn't the vice president. The only real political offers technically on this trip were, I believe, an assistant secretary in the Bureau of Indian Affairs, something like that. I didn't catch his exact title. But the first lady and second gentleman are still very important, and they still get, full Secret Service protection and all of the procedures that go with it. And so then I got up real nice and early because I got to beat the bridge traffic and got my way up here. And there's only so much I'll go into for leading up to that. What I will say is that because I had to get from the site of the healthcare discussion to the Sioux Locks, that required a trip in the motorcade. There was a press van, and that required being in Sault Ste. Marie's first presidential motorcade in what seems to have been a couple of years. I couldn't get an exact number from anyone, but it seems to have been a while. You could see people leaning out of their houses, taking pictures as the motorcade went by. And there was a pretty sizable crowd at the main entrance of the Sioux Locks where they lowered the bollards for the first time that I've ever seen to let all of those cars and trucks and vans into the federal facility.
That is so cool. So you were a part of the motorcade. You were in there.
Yes, I was in the thick of it. I don't know for sure whether the glass on my van was the same glass that the cars of the first lady and second gentleman got, but we took our chances and everything turned out fine.
That's awesome. What a cool experience. I'm sure people still thought you were very, very important, which you are, of course.
Yeah, I should. Clearly, it was humbling, really. I mean, you're part of you're a cog in a very precise operation with a lot of moving parts. You speak to different Secret Service agents. There was a press gentleman named Harvey Green who was our liaison. He's a very seasoned professional and was on top of everything. So yeah, really, you just become part of the machine in these moments, and you just go with the flow.
Yeah. Very cool. What a great moment. And so, like I mentioned, your story really it kind of touched on the recap of what was discussed today, but your story was about a minute and a half. You were there all day. So between the discussion with tribal leaders about healthcare and then between the tour of the Sioux Locks, what are some other things that you didn't have time to mention in your story that you think people would find interesting?
I got to start off with something that's important about this trip. Make no mistake, this is a campaign trip. It's 2024. It is the election season. Whether they say it or not, it's a campaign. That's the reality of the politics of it. So they were in Marquette, and they're literally now in Midland, and they're going to end up in Detroit tomorrow. But, I was looking into details about what was happening at those different stops. And as best as I could tell, as far as substance goes, this stop here in Sault Ste. Marie was what seems to have been a much bigger deal in terms of direct federal policy impact. The tribes are on a nation to nation basis with the federal government, tribal sovereignty and all that. So this was today's discussion was a policy discussion about, federal funding and making it there. And the Sioux Locks being a major U.S. Army infrastructure project. I mean, there's been a federal presence in this city since the 1850s and longer, of course, with the Canadian border. So I just want to, I got to start by highlighting that this stop in the trip, I think has a pretty big importance to it. A lot of federal stuff here in town. One thing that really stood out was, when we were in the old federal building, the administration building at the Sioux Locks, Mr. Weekly of the Lake Carriers Association laid out a very pretty interesting scenario because, part of this is ensuring that for the Sioux Locks lock to be completed by 2030, the funding has to be guaranteed now, and it also has to be later. I think that requires some resilience on the part of a forthcoming Biden administration or forthcoming Trump administration. Whatever happens, the project has to be attended to. So what Mr. Weekly read out, I was only able to show you just a little bit of it. He went on for quite a bit longer, talking about how all of the manufacturing would stop should one of the Sioux Locks go down. He was referring to the POLOC in this case, which the new lock would supplement. Manufacturing would go down, steel production would go down. This place, it's such a small place in the grand scheme of things, but what comes through the St. Mary's River and through the Sioux Locks is so important to what we take for granted in our modern lives. And that seemed to be an important theme of the day.
Yeah, small place in the grand scheme of things, but with a huge impact.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Danny, thank you so much for joining us after a very busy day. I know you said you're not tired. I'm sure you're a little tired and probably ready to get on the road and get back to Petoskey. So we will let you go, but thanks so much for giving us an insight of what your day as a reporter looked like on a very important one.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Maya, and hope more special visitors to Northern Michigan as the campaign season rolls on. I think we deserve it.
Absolutely. All right. Bye, Danny. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
All right, we are going to take a short break. I'm going to put our question of the day back up on the screen. So if you haven't voted on that yet, be sure to do that. Again, the question today is, are you frustrated with the apparent choice of candidates for president? As of right now, 75% say yes, 25% say no. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll check in with Chief Meteorologist Joe Charlevoix, and he will have your weekend forecast. Stay with us. You're watching UpNorthLive News Unscripted. Welcome back to Up North Live Unscripted on this Friday evening. A beautiful, really all week was pretty beautiful, and a beautiful end to the week today as well. And we're going to bring in our chief meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix, with more on the weekend forecast. Joe, I mean, you said it earlier in first weather. The weekend looks pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it really does. Coming up, and just in time too, because as we get into next week, Maya, we're going to see more rain coming back. But you know what? That'll be like later Monday.
Yeah, we'll worry about that Monday.
We'll worry about that then. Yeah, let's start off with a look at. Well, let's start off with temperatures right now around northern Michigan. They're still warm. You know, we're closing in on 7 o'clock here shortly, and those are the numbers. It's 80 at West Branch, Grayling 78. It is a warm afternoon and evening. And you know what? I'm going to show you something else. This is a sign of the that we're getting into summer.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look right now. That's Torch Lake.
So it looks so beautiful. Look at the boats out.
Boats out. Grass is cut. Folks at the end of you can see some folks just off at the end of the dock there coming on shore. Just a nice day. That's been the case. Now, we did have some rain and a few storms last night. I had a pretty decent storm at my place when I got home last night. All we've had today, though, is a little lone thunderstorm right here. A couple of storms south of Alpena earlier. Those have pretty much ended. There's a look at that. And again, our area, pretty quiet. Now, there are a few storms downstate. There's one south of Ithaca, south of Alma, but we're not looking at a whole lot of that for our area. So let's take a look kind of at our forecast as we get into the weekend. Here's what we're looking at. We'll start off with, I was going to show you the Morel Mushroom Festival. We'll get to that in a minute. There's tonight, quiet. Beautiful day tomorrow, maybe a little bit of fog in the morning, but then lots of sunshine for the afternoon, a beautiful Saturday. Now, if you look at that, you might be like, oh my gosh, look at all that rain coming in. You might see some lightning to the north tomorrow night, but a lot of this is going to pass 8 o'clock during the overnight tomorrow night. Little front comes through. And then Sunday, we're back to dry weather for the majority of the day. So I think during the daytime hours, quiet. Here's the Mushroom Festival, the National Morel Mushroom Festival in Boyne City. The forecast for that, 83 Saturday, 76 Sunday. I mean, if you're attending that, well, it doesn't get any better.
Nope.
And then here's the TVC Run the Runway event. That's at Cherry Capital Airport. Big event in Traverse City tomorrow. It will warm up quickly, a little morning fog possible, but then sunny and dry. And I'll recap the weekend. There it is tomorrow. Early day fog, then sunshine. Mostly sunny and warm. Our coolest readings near Lake Huron and the Straits. Sunday, spotty early day shower. Sunshine once again. Highs in the 70s. I'm sure many of you will enjoy that. And there's a look at the extended forecast. It does change next week. Showers roll in on Monday. And then some rain, a little thunder Tuesday. Showers on Wednesday. And we do cool down. We're back into the 50s and 60s, Maya, by the time we head into the day on Thursday. But this weekend looks pretty good. Enjoy your time at the beach.
Oh, thank you. I will. And especially knowing that we're going to see some 50s and 60s again next week, I'm going to make sure to make a point to really enjoy the weather this week.
Good point, because, it is going to cool down later next week again.
So this is the weekend to get out and just soak up all the sunshine and all the warmth. All right. Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tonight on Up North Live News at 11 for an even more in-depth forecast of this weekend and beyond. And we are going to take one more break. I'm going to put up our question of the day one more time. And then when we come back, we're going to check in with our sports director, Harrison Beebe. He is actually out in the field today. I think he's reporting on some high school lacrosse games. Very exciting. So we'll see if he can put down his camera for a couple minutes to give us a little update on what he'll be working on tonight for 11. But stick around with us. We will be right back. And if you haven't voted on our question of the day yet, be sure to do that by scanning the QR code on your screen right now. Welcome back to Unscripted. I'm Maya Engel, live in our digital studio, and we're gonna check in with our sports director Harrison Beebe, live, not in the newsroom today, but with a crowd of people cheering in a blue sky. Harrison, where are you?
Well, I'm in the cheap seats. There's nobody behind me here. I didn't want to bother people. Live enjoying a lacrosse playoff game, but we're at Thurlby Field. Most of you may know this as a hot spot in the fall for high school football, but this is where I'm going to show you some of the action. I know the MHSA kind of restricts a lot of people from showing games live on streaming, so we'll just kind of take a peek there. Traverse City girls lacrosse team, they're in their inaugural season, and they're up 10-7 right now in their first ever playoff game against Grand Haven. They're midway through the third quarter here. I just got here about 10 minutes ago, caught a couple goals. All right, that's the beauty of lacrosse. You get some high-scoring games in this sport, so it's a lot of fun to come out and just see the lead changes and the offense go back and forth. But the girls teams are on the field right now, and if you look in the distance, I don't know, sun's in my eyes, I don't know how we can see the guys behind me, but that's Grand Rapids Christian. The boys team is warming up because they're going to play the Traverse City United boys team. It's a doubleheader here tonight, boys and girls Traverse City lacrosse teams starting their postseasons here. So big event, great weather for it. Unlike Joe, who's hanging out in the studio, I'm actually out here enjoying the sunshine.
Taking advantage of sunshine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll have highlights of both of those games tonight at 11. What else are you working on tonight?
Well, Maya, I think we talked about it earlier. Everybody's kind of keeping tabs on that PGA championship down there in Louisville, Kentucky, mostly for one Scotty Scheffler, who was apparently arrested this morning. The number one world-ranked golfer had some issue with one of the officers down there in Louisville and spent a few hours behind bars before being released, and actually competed pretty well today. Shot 5 under for the day. And he's now, last I checked, 9 under for the round or for the tournament so far, and it's just a few back of the leaders. So go figure, a hectic morning for him, and yet he plays one of his best rounds of golf.
Yep, doesn't seem to be bothering him too much.
That's what makes him number one, I guess.
Exactly. All right, Harrison, I'll let you get back to shooting some highlights. I look forward to seeing those at 11. So thanks so much for joining us from Thurlby Field in Traverse City. We'll see you later.
Sounds good. Thanks, Maya.
Yep, thank you. And we will take one last break. I'm going to put our question of the day back on the screen one more time. That is, are you frustrated with the apparent choice of candidates for president? Again, 75% say yes, 25% say no. If you haven't voted, scan the QR code on your screen now. When we come back, we will see if these results have changed. Stick around. You're watching UpNorthLive Unscripted. Okay, taking one last look at our question of the day. Are you frustrated with the apparent choice of candidates for president? Nothing has really changed in the past couple minutes. 75% of people say yes, 25% of people say no. If you haven't voted yet and you do want to join in the conversation, you can scan the QR code on our screen now. You can also go to our Facebook page where you can leave a comment on what your thoughts are on this. But I just want to thank everyone so much for joining us on Up North Live Unscripted. I know this is a new sort of format, a new show, and it really means a lot just to have all you here. And we appreciate all the feedback, and we're definitely considering all the different factors. Keep in mind, this is still new. We're only 1 week into it, so it can only get better from here. But thank you so much for joining us, and have a great weekend. Take advantage of that nice weather. We'll see you back here tonight on Up North Live News at 11. Take care, everyone.